This is Ring of Honor's Kingpin, Brian Milonas, and you're listening to Tapped Out Wrestling Podcast Network.
Hello and welcome to the Pro Wrestling Personified Podcast. I'm your host, Louis Carlin, and we're part of the Tapped Out Wrestling Podcast Network. And we got a really special guest here today with us. He's a mainstay in chaotic wrestling. You can see him more recently on Ring of Honor Wrestling, teaming with the Beer City Bruiser. Please help me welcome the Kingpin, Brian Milonas. Brian, welcome to the show, man.
Thank you so much for having me. It's good to be here.
Yeah, it's great to have you. Like I was saying before we get started, I love the team of you and Bruiser. Just a great combination there. Great match. You took on Coast to Coast, I know, on TV, and it wound up being a six-man match. But great combination there. I love the team.
Yeah. Thank you so much. Yeah, it's been a blast, and we feel like we're just getting started and just scratching the surface of what we're capable of.
So how did that all come about? How did they decide that you were going to be put with the Beer City Bruiser? I know he was on air. He was looking for a partner, and I know you had a match earlier in 2007 against Bruiser. But how did that come together with you joining Bruiser and Silas Young?
Yeah, so we wrestled for TV back over the summer. I want to say it was like June, July, somewhere in there. And we had a really good match. And it's funny, people started kind of hitting both of us up on social media. Just kept, oh man, you guys should be a team. And went back, and we were just funny. We were in Philadelphia, and we were joking around about, man, they should team us up. And lo and behold, the next time we're back in Philadelphia, they had made the call to team us up and put us together. So I don't know. Exactly how it came about, creatively for them, but I know it's probably stemmed from the match and the fact that there was, fans talking about it online when they saw us wrestle each other. So it's been pretty cool, man.
Yeah, well, like I said, it's a great team. When I know when Bruiser said he was looking for a partner, and then he chose you, and you attacked, I believe it was Kenny King, and you took Kenny King out, and he knew right away you were going to be his partner. Like I said, I love the combination. And how far do you think you guys can go? Do you think you could get to Ring of Honor World Tag Team Champions, or maybe even with Silas Young, the six-man champions? How far do you think you could go with this team?
I think we can go all the way, man. I think anybody, I think we're a contender immediately. Just look at us when we walk down the ring. There's not a team in Ring of Honor who physically can match up to us. Especially with War Machine out of the picture now.
Sure.
We are far and away the biggest tag team currently in Ring of Honor. I believe we may be the biggest tag team in Ring of Honor history. And yeah, man, I think anything's in play, especially when you add Silas in. Hey, maybe we'll be the first. Maybe we'll get both. Maybe we'll become both the World Tag Team and the World Six-Man Tag Team champions.
Well, I know I mentioned earlier before we went on about LSG and Coast to Coast. I was going to save it till later on, but since we're talking about Ring of Honor and Tag Team, I'm going to say when I spoke to him earlier in the week, he wanted me to tell you that he looks forward to beating you and the Beer City Bruiser again very soon. So he said anytime you guys want to meet up, he'll be happy to beat you guys again. So I'll let you respond to that.
Well, he was lucky that Kenny King was there to bail him out, and I would say send back to LSG and tell him don't let his mouth write checks his butt can't cover.
That's great, man. All right, man. Yeah, but I look forward. I think you guys could have a really good feud. I know Coast to Coast is a good young team, and you guys are a great team. I think it would be a perfect feud. I would love to see more Coast to Coast versus you and the Beer City Bruiser matches. So I think it would be phenomenal.
Yeah, man, I don't think you've seen the last of us in Coast to Coast. I can say that pretty confidently.
Well, you're going to be at Manhattan Mayhem tomorrow. And I know Kenny King, I don't think he has any partners yet. I think it's the fans need to choose the partners for him. Do you think there could be possibly coast to coast that gets chosen? Or?
I mean, it definitely could be. It could be them. Could be the Briscoes. Could be the Kingdom. Could be Best Friends.
Okay.
Yeah, man, it's cool. As I sit here, we sit here recording this Friday night. Tomorrow morning, I'll be heading to New York City, so that's always really cool. Special place for me. I guess my history in the Hammerstein Ballroom not so great. That's where I got eliminated from the Top Prospect tournament last year. But
okay.
Hopefully, I can turn that around this year. But anytime you can wrestle in the heart of New York City with the pro wrestling history in that city, and especially in that particular venue, just so special to just really awesome to be right there, and New York City is a special place, man, especially when it comes to pro wrestling.
Sure. Well, I'm up here in Toronto, but I'm a proud member now of the Honor Club, so I'll be able to watch it live tomorrow on Ring of Honor Wrestling.com. I'll be able to watch it streamed live, so I'll be watching you tomorrow. So I'm looking forward.
Man. Hopefully I'll be up there in May. So that'll be cool. I know the War of the Worlds tour is coming up to Toronto in May, so hopefully I'll be a part of that.
Yeah, I'm gonna do my best to get tickets. It's tough because I have a crazy work schedule, but I would love to go. I'm not sure if they're even sold out. I think I might have seen that it's sold out already, but I'm going to try to get to that show, the War of the Worlds. I love Ring of Honor. It's just probably one of my favorite promotions. It's a tremendous promotion. What's the experience like so far? I know you've been there for would it be almost a year now? You're with Ring of Honor?
I guess it gets a little over. The Top Prospect tournament started, last year in February, but it's been incredible. It's been incredible from going to the tryout camp in October through the Top Prospect tournament, and now with getting a regular spot on the roster, and it's just such a special place, and all the great things that are going on with Ring of Honor right now, and of course, the Bullet Club and Cody and the Young Bucks and Marty Scurll and Adam Page, and that whole crew leading the charge, and Dalton Castle and Jay Lethal. I mean, to be there with that group of guys, and I should stop mentioning names because I'm going to forget somebody. The Briscoe brothers, just incredible. The level of talent in that locker room is unbelievable, and I truly believe the tagline: "This is the best professional wrestling on the planet." You'd be hard pressed to find that much talent in one place, and I'm glad now that it's starting to get Ring of Honor is like that hot brand, man. That's coming up, and
sure.
It's funny from the beginnings, and I remember way back when my first kind of foray with Ring of Honor was actually I was used as a lumberjack in a match between Homicide and Bryan Danielson over a decade ago, and just to see where it's come from there to now is just so incredible. The company has just grown so much, and there's not a better time to be a part of it, and I'm just so grateful to be there.
Yeah, well, I have to say it's Ring of Honor and New Japan Pro Wrestling are without a doubt my favorite promotions. Absolutely love Ring of Honor. As soon as Honor Club came out, I had to join right away. But you mentioned the Top Prospect tournament 2017. How did you get involved with that? I know you were with Chaotic Wrestling, and we'll talk about that a little later on. And you were with Chaotic Wrestling for quite some time. But how did you get involved in the Top Prospect tournament for 2017?
Yeah, so I decided to. Ring of Honor does those periodic. They do like training camp, tryout camps. They do them a few times a year. So I decided to kind of, all right, I want to do this. I want to see if I can, see if I have what it takes to make a mark for myself in Ring of Honor. And I went to the tryout camp. Things went really well. Had some great dialogue with them. Just stayed in touch, and when the opportunity came up and they were picking guys for the Top Prospect tournament, I know it's kind of weird considering I started wrestling in 2001 to be a prospect, but when you go someplace new, especially to the level of Ring of Honor, you start the bottom. You got to work your way up, and
Sure.
that Top Prospect tournament, man, that's the gateway in. You think about some of the guys on that roster and that have moved on from that roster that have come through that Top Prospect tournament. I mean, it's incredible, and to be one of the few chosen for that on a yearly basis is pretty special, and even more special to I didn't win the tournament, but I'm still there, and that's a good thing. And but they do a great job there at finding talent and taking that talent and cultivating it.
Oh yeah, I mean, yeah. Excuse me. You have a lot of new talent like Punishment Martinez, Josh Woods, who I don't want to say it, but he beat you in the semifinals in the tournament. But he's a great talent.
He made me tap out.
Yeah, no, great talent there, and Shane Taylor, a big fan of Shane Taylor as well. So they have a lot of good young upcoming talent, and you're definitely a part of it. And it's good to be a Ring of Honor fan right now. Lots of things going on. But you mentioned you debuted in 2001, and I know you were trained by a number of people, one of them being the legendary Killer Kowalski. Growing up, seeing Kowalski on TV, because I started watching wrestling in 1978, Bruno Sammartino. My grandfather got me involved, but every time I saw Killer Kowalski on TV, I would get scared as a kid. But what was he like in real life? Was he really that scary? Or what was Killer Kowalski like to train with?
He was a gentle giant, and by the time I came along, Walter was a little less mobile. He wasn't as hands-on in the ring, but he would sit down, he could talk to you, and he would evaluate things, but it was the times, not so much where I was in the ring. It's the time sitting down, talking with him, picking his brain. Walter was so kind and just so smart, and somebody who was just ahead of his time. He's somebody who would have made money no matter what era of pro wrestling he was in. He would survive today. It's funny. I took a trip to Canada with him. It was myself and Warbeard Hansen, and we went with Killer Kowalski and his wife, and we did a road trip to Canada, and it was such a unbelievable experience to say I've been on a road trip with a legend. There's not too many names like Killer Kowalski in pro wrestling history, and just to say that I got to spend time with him, and got to have him as a mentor. I'll remember that for the rest of my life, and that's one of the things I cherish most of from my time in pro wrestling is the relationship I was able to have with him, and he's been gone now for quite some time, but
sure.
I still miss him, and hopefully all of us out there that are part of that lineage are doing him proud still today.
Yeah, well, he is absolute legend. Like I said, I saw him once. I was at I think it was UWF show in New York. Herb Abrams was running it, and one of the guests there was Killer Kowalski, and he was sitting in a chair in the front row. And I was thinking about maybe I should go up and just see if I could shake his hand, but he just had this death stare on him. I was like, I'm not going near Killer Kowalski. I'm going to stay away. But yeah, absolute legend. Now, Chaotic Wrestling, you've been wrestling for them for 15 years, or has it been longer than that?
Yeah, since 2001. That's where I started. So they own the school that I started with, and it's funny. So the trainer that was there, a guy by the name of Mike Hollow, and a guy by the name of Duke Dalton were my trainers, and they were the trainers at Kowalski School, and they decided to kind of go out on their own. Just there was some business disagreements, and then ultimately Kowalski came over maybe like a year and a half later. So it was pretty quick, but so Chaotic Wrestling was the ones that owned the school. It's called the Chaotic Training Center.
Okay.
So yeah, I started with them right from the start. So that's been my home promotion, since the beginning. Yeah,
and I was reading that you're the longest reigning Chaotic Wrestling champion. How long did you hold the title for to be the longest reigning champion?
Well, I think it's since been broken, but I think
Okay.
I had it for like some 17, 18 months.
Okay.
But it was my time there, and I'm still there. A little less regular. Like I mean, lately I've been back in regular, but I took some time off from Chaotic. But Chaotic will also always be a special place to me, and
Okay.
To think about all the friends I've made there, and just all the guys that have come out of there. It's insane how much talent has come through that Chaotic Wrestling locker room. I mean, you're talking Warbeard Hansen, you're talking Tommaso Ciampa, you're talking Kofi Kingston, Sasha Banks, Oni Lorcan. I mean, the list is just absolutely incredible of guys who have either started there or come through there and have gone on to make names for themselves, all over the world.
Yeah, no, there's a lot of talent. I know Donovan Dijak was a part of it. I think you had mentioned that one of your favorite matches was actually with Donovan Dijak. I think I heard that on another podcast. But yeah, a lot of talent. There's one tag team that I saw a few times. I think it's the Logan Brothers. Is that the Logan Brothers are in Chaotic Wrestling, right? Do I have that name right?
Yep, yeah, you do. The Logan Brothers are they're a couple of guys who probably it's a shame that the majority of our wrestling careers were spent in a time where the indies were kind of dead and dormant, and they existed, but nobody knew they were there. And the Logan Brothers are guys who just absolutely tremendous. They would, they're kind of winding down now, I think, and are just content with wrestling for Chaotic. But they're absolutely guys who, if the prime of their careers were right now, they'd be somewhere. They'd be Ring of Honor. They'd be with WWE. They'd be with somebody making money, because they are so talented, and I wish more people knew about them and sought their stuff out, because just as a unit, they are just unbelievable and really don't get enough credit.
Yeah, actually, the match I saw was actually them against Cam Zagami and All Good Anthony Green. That was a tremendous match. I was watching some episodes on Fight the Fight app. So really,
okay.
I saw them right away. I was like, wow, these guys are really talented. And actually,
they've been doing it for a long time now too, man. They've been around for a long time, and like I said it once, I'll say it again. I wish more people knew about them and could see their level of talent.
You were actually on the show also that I was watching. You were it was Ashley Vox and Delmy Exo against forgive me if I get the name wrong, Davine and Catherine Belmont. Davian, sorry, and Catherine Belmont. So Jocelyn was there too, and you were with I think you had taken out one of the Ashley Vox or something, but no, it was a really good show. I did a review on it, and I gave it a really good review. So it was a great show, Chaotic Wrestling. Now, early on, you were a member of a team called the Lost Souls, and you guys won the Chaotic Wrestling Tag Team Championship. What was it like early on being in that team, and how did that team come together?
Yeah, well, so the senior referee for Ring of Honor, who actually one of my best pals, and we started the very same week. Todd Sinclair was he was the creative force behind Chaotic Wrestling, along with another buddy of ours, Eric Arsenault, and they wanted to do like this sort of cult type thing. And they had the guy who they wanted to be a singles wrestler. His name was Matthew Evagrius, and they knew the kid who ultimately my tag team partner, Peter Malloy. They wanted to do a tag team with him, and I was ready to go. I was in the right place at the right time, and Todd and Eric had a lot of faith in me, and they put us in that tag team, and off we went, and it was a really good pairing. Peter Malloy was a really talented guy. I think at the time we were teaming, he was like 16 or 17 years old. Okay. He was just a youngster, but I had a lot of fun doing that.
So, excuse me. So you were actually Brian. Was it was Brian Buffett or
Buffet?
Buffet.
No, Buffet. It
Buffet,
was. Yeah, there was kind of this awful tradition in Chaotic Wrestling where they give you a goofy name to start, and
okay.
Usually you get rid of it before you become a regular on the shows, but there's a select few, myself being one, and Tommaso Ciampa, who was christened Tommy Penmanship, was another who we got stuck with those for a little bit. So, but you know what? It's all right. Came out okay on the other side.
Yeah. So when did you become the Kingpin, Brian Milonas?
Well, the Kingpin moniker now, boy, what year did I probably start that? Probably around 2007, somewhere around there, 2006, 2007, 2008, somewhere around there. And I was just looking for something to add with my name. A couple of years prior, I'd already started using my real name. And I just wanted something to go with it. And the owner of Chaotic Wrestling at the time was a guy by the name of Jamie Jamakowski. And I was actually working for him in his warehouse, too. And he was a big comic book nerd. And
okay.
He thought that the Kingpin, and he told me about the Kingpin, the comic book character, and I really liked the sound of it. I liked the way it sounded with my name, and I liked the sound of the character. And I didn't ultimately take on many traits, and I didn't completely steal the character, but I really did like the name, and I thought it had a nice ring to it.
All right, yeah, no, it's a great name. I remember like when I first saw you on the Chaotic Wrestling show, and the name fit you perfectly. I was like, wow, that guy. I'm thinking Daredevil right away. That guy does resemble Kingpin from Daredevil. So, yeah, so that was a great name, fit you perfectly. So going back to you did the training with Killer Kowalski. When did you decide that you wanted to become a professional wrestler? Was it someone that you saw on TV? Was it a show that you attended to? So when did you decide that, hey, I'm going to try my hand at professional wrestling?
Yeah, it was, I had been a fan my whole life, and I always loved it. I didn't even knew, like most people, well, I guess it's a little different now, but growing up then with no internet, and you didn't even know how people became, or I did not know how people became professional wrestlers. And
sure.
I had a buddy who actually, we were in high school, and he found Killer Kowalski's, and he started training there when we were in high school. He was a year older than me at the time, and or he still is a year older than me. But
okay.
So I started I started going with him to watch the classes, and I started going with him to independent shows until he started working them. I had no clue independent shows even really existed. And that's when I kind of started to get the bug just being around it, like, oh man, like I could sign up and do this. And so finally, once I graduated high school, and then so I was 19. It was actually the day before my 20th birthday I started training. It was, I had to get the money, and once I had the money, and I had graduated high school, I was, once I had the money, I was ready to go. But probably like late, middle, like sophomore year of high school was when I really started truly thinking about this might be something I want to do.
So how difficult was it in the beginning after the training and you had your first few matches? How difficult was it in the beginning as you were attempting to become a pro wrestler? I know I've talked to some wrestlers. They had in the beginning they had to work 3 or 4 jobs to survive. But how difficult was it? And what did you do to get your name out there to promote yourself to get booked on shows?
Yeah, it is difficult, and it's certainly, you certainly don't make money to support yourself, so you do got to have a full-time job. And the biggest thing I did was just I was always going to shows. If I had buddies who were on shows, I would go with them and tag along and introduce myself, and that's how you do it. At least back in those days, that's how you did it. We didn't have YouTube yet, and we didn't, nobody was doing that stuff, and You went to shows that you weren't booked on. You met the promoters. You left your bag in the car, and you hoped maybe they had a spot for you.
Sure.
But if they didn't, you did ring crew. You swept the floor afterwards. You sold concessions if they needed it, and in hopes that they would think you were a good guy and bring you back for the next show. So that's the kind of the old way of doing it, and it's a little lost now, especially where so many people can just send their links to promoters through YouTube. But
sure.
The old ways, we just got in the car and went to a show with one of our buddies.
All right, man. Now, I've been waiting to talk to you about this because I didn't know this actually happened until I was doing some research on you. In 2007, involved in a match for Chaotic Wrestling that involved John Cena and Vince McMahon, and I had no idea that Vince McMahon had ever shown up to a indie promotion. So I was like, "Holy crap, that's Vince McMahon and John Cena!" And you actually took the attitude adjustment from John Cena. You had your arm raised by McMahon. How did that whole thing come? What? How did that whole thing happen? It just seems surreal that Vince McMahon is showing up at an independent wrestling show. But
Yeah, I mean, it was crazy. It's the craziest thing I think that's ever happened to me. So we had the show with Cena because John's dad worked with us, and his brother is a police officer in that town that we were in. And I got in a car accident, and they needed a new cruiser, and I believe this was to help raise money to get a new police cruiser.
Okay.
And WWE let John do the show because it's his brother and his dad was involved, and WWE has a really good relationship with Chaotic Wrestling. The owner Jamie always, worked hard to have a good working relationship with them. So, the whole time, I was supposed to have the match with Rick Fuller with Cena as the ref, which just in itself is a really cool thing. Cena was probably at his peak at that point.
Sure.
As far as popularity, the crowd, that was before the days of the crowds booing him or whatever. And so he laid out the whole sequence, the whole finish. He very meticulously, which at the time I didn't think, when he was doing it, I didn't think anything of it. I just thought he was helping us out and putting something together. But in reality, he was putting it together because he knew Vince was showing up. None of the rest of us did.
Okay.
In the match, none of the rest of us did. So he called that spot where I hit him, and then Rick Fuller gets laid out, and and then I get laid out, and we're all down, and that's when Vince gets in the ring, and I was kind of starting to come to do the next thing we had talked about, and I kind of heard somebody get in the ring, and I turned around, and it was the weird. It felt like a dream, because Vince McMahon's in the ring, and I don't know what to do. So he comes over to me. He goes, "Are you the heel or the baby face?" And I said, "Well, I'm the heel." And that's when he grabbed my arm and held it up, and I'd like to say that I played it cool, but my mouth was hitting the floor. And I said, "What's next?" And he goes, "I'm going to slap Cena. He's going to give me the FU, and I'm getting the hell out of here." And I said, "Okay." and that's exactly what happened.
So he just came up. He had no idea. He just came up to you and said, "Are you the heel or babyface?" And they just grabbed. Wow, that must have been just a tremendous experience. And I know the fans were pumping hard when he came into the ring.
It was unbelievable. It sounds fake. It sounds completely if I just told that story and there wasn't video evidence, there's not a person alive who would believe it.
I had to watch it a few times, and I'm thinking, is that really Vince McMahon, or is that somebody playing Vince McMahon? I had to watch it a few times, and no, that's Vince McMahon. That's Vince McMahon. And did you?
I have the video. I have the actual video that I've been sworn to hold dear and never release and never let see the light of day. So
okay, there you go. So did you? McMahon's in the ring. He's lifting up your arm. Did you think that? Okay, I know you were almost in shock that McMahon was in the ring, but we think of that. Hey, this is my chance. Maybe I could convince McMahon to give me a tryout in the WWE here.
Well, it's funny you mention that, because the very next week they were in Boston. I think it was 1 week or 2 weeks later, very close to it. They were in the Boston area. That's where I live, for television tapings, and I was booked as an extra already before that. I already knew that I was booked as an extra, and I got myself all geeked up, and I was like, I'm going to talk to him. I'm going to thank him. And then in your mind, you're like, yeah, this is my shot. This is my shot. So I'm in the well, now it's called the TD Bank North Garden, but at that point I think it was called the Fleet Center. And here he comes. Here comes Vince McMahon walking down the hallway. So I go, Mr. McMahon, and he stops and looks at me, and I go, I said, I don't know if you remember me, but we were in the ring together at the independent show that you showed up at, and I just wanted to say thank you. He goes, oh, well, you're welcome. And he just kept on walking. And it was... it walked away with my hopes and dreams.
Oh man, that must no, that had to be. What was Cena like? Did you get to talk to Cena at all after the show, or?
Yes, John's a great dude. It's funny, when I first started at the Chaotic School, he had just kind of, I think, started on the road with WWE, and he would come by on different nights to the school and work out with us. So we'd already there at the school had already kind of had, a lot of us had already had, previous relationship, knew him from that, and he, he is such a good dude, and just such a nice guy. After that day, and even that day, he was familiar with me, and every time I'd go to TV as an extra after that, he'd always take a minute, stop, chat, ask me how I was. John Cena is a really nice guy, and I'm not buddies with him or anything like that, but any interaction I've ever had with him, especially after we had worked together in that capacity, was always, handshake, refer to me by name, chat up a little bit. I know his dad very well,
okay.
So we talk about his dad, but always from that day forth, anytime I ever saw him, just such a nice guy, and I can't say enough good things about my interactions with him.
Yeah, tremendous talent. I've been a fan of his ever since he stepped in the ring and had that match with Kurt Angle, his debut on WWF or WWE. It was called that time. Sorry, I still call it WWF. So I'm still old school, but yeah. So I've been a fan of his for a while. But let's go back to Ring of Honor. I know it took you. You said you debuted in 2001, and it took you long time to get to Ring of Honor. Were you ever thinking, like, when is my break gonna happen, or did you ever have any doubts along the way that, like, your break might not be coming, or because it took us such a long time, or have you ever thought of that, or?
Yeah, I mean, there was a lot of times, and I had kind of a little stretch after my daughter was born where I thought it was it. I thought it was all done for me. I thought this was just, this will just be, I wrestle once a month for Chaotic Wrestling, and that'll be it. But it just hit me. It was, I get to a point where I'm 34 at the time, and it's like, it's to the point where, okay, it's now or never. It's now or never. Either do this right now or you don't do it at all. And then that's when I decided to go to the camp, the tryout camp. But there were lots of times where, lots of self-doubt or lots of disappointments that come along. You think you're getting close, and you don't. I mean, I had, an opportunity with Ring of Honor previously that didn't work out. So it's been a long road. But at the same time, I wouldn't trade my path for anything, because that's my story, and that this is how my story is supposed to play out. And I didn't get there when I was younger, but I'm here now, and I'm going to make the most of it. And it's funny, we talked about Killer Kowalski, but it's the simplest advice in the world, but it's something he lived by, and it's so simple, but at the same time, it's so brilliant, and that's make the people notice you, and that's what I'm intending to do. I've been here all along. I feel like I've been a pretty talented guy, made some good contributions, but now's my opportunity to show literally the world, that I'm one of the very best, and that I belong there, and that's exactly what I plan on doing.
So you're in the team now with Beer City Bruiser, but are you thinking maybe eventually you'd like to be a solo wrestler, break away from the team and see what you can do on your own, or I should ask, what are your main goals being in Ring of Honor?
Well, I mean, right now, that's not even on my mind. Right now, okay. My goal is to, for me and the Bruiser to win the World Tag Team Championships. I can't say enough good things about the Bruiser or Silas, for that matter. Those guys have right away, we have good chemistry in the ring, out of the ring, and right away from the start, when they found out I was joining them, they embraced it and have been nothing but, I can't say enough good things, and just, they had their own thing going that was pretty damn good, and for me to come along, they could have been resistant to that, and they could have fought that, and they didn't. They embraced it, and they've embraced me, and they've tried to help me every step of the way. So I'm just so grateful to be paired with a couple of guys like that, and and right now, like I said, the goal for us is either have me and Bruiser have those World Tag Team Championships, or the three of us to have the 6-man titles. That right now, that's my sole goal.
Okay, yeah. 'Cause like I said earlier, I think there is gold in your future, whether it be the 6-man title or the tag team titles. And I want to ask you another question. I know you were in the ring with Howie Timbershea. You beat Howie Timbershea. Is he really that good of a singer? Because he sings a lot in the ring, and it's I don't know. It gets nothing. He's a good in-ring performer, but the singing kind of gets, I don't know, maybe a little annoying. But is he really that good of a singer in the ring? I know you've been up close and heard him sing.
As far as the singing goes, I tell him to stick to pro wrestling.
Fair enough. I'll probably tell him the same thing. So who have been some of your favorite opponents in Ring of Honor, or even outside of Ring of Honor? So who, I know we mentioned Donovan Dijak, I think you had mentioned was one of your favorite opponents. But who, like in Ring of Honor and outside of Ring of Honor, who would you say are your favorite opponents?
Yeah, I mean, inside. There hasn't been a ton yet, but I definitely enjoyed locking horns with Kenny King. He's such a talented guy, and I've really enjoyed that. A guy who was in Ring of Honor and now he's in WWE is Warbeard Hansen, who's probably my greatest rival.
Okay.
We've been in the ring with each other between training and matches, and more than I could probably wrestle for another 10 years and not wrestle anybody more than I wrestled Hansen. Dijak, of course. My favorite match ever is we had a match a couple of years ago at one of Chaotic Wrestling's big shows, and he's just so damn good. The sky's the limit for Dijak, and he might be a guy who's a main eventer someday in WWE.
And who were some of your dream opponents? Somebody, maybe a wrestler in Ring of Honor that you haven't wrestled that you want to wrestle, or overall, like, do you have any dream opponents that you hope to take on before you step away from pro wrestling?
Yeah, I mean, in Ring of Honor, especially when you're talking about tag teams or 6-mans, the Bullet Club for sure, the Young Bucks and Page, they have those 6-man titles. I would love to wrestle, me and Bruiser would love to wrestle the Briscoes, the Motor City Machine Guns, SoCal Uncensored. All those guys are, especially when you're talking about SoCal Uncensored, and you're talking about Christopher Daniels and Frankie Kazarian.
Yeah.
Just guys who have been around, done it all. I'd love to, those guys are pretty high on the list of guys I'd love to be in the ring with, and Frankie Kazarian kind of having the same lineage that I have, coming from Kowalski's. I think that would be really cool too.
One match I'd like to see is Shane Taylor against the Kingpin Brian Milonas. I think that would be a great match. That would be
I agree too,
match.
man. Shane's a bad dude, man. He's a bad dude, and I'd love to wrestle him. I'm excited to see him really starting to break out, and I think 2018 is going to be just an enormous year for Shane Taylor, and it's always good to see big guys bust out of that mold that a lot of us get thrown into, and Shane's at the forefront of breaking that mold, and I think Shane's going to have an incredible 2018.
I agree. A big fan of Shane Taylor. Two more questions, and then we'll wrap this up. Tomorrow you're going to be at Manhattan Mayhem. I think this show is going to be released after Manhattan Mayhem is over and done, after it takes place. But you're going to be at Manhattan Mayhem tomorrow. Going to be a big crowd. How do you prepare yourself mentally before you go out in front of a big crowd? Do you have a routine that you go through, or does it not bother you anymore because you've been around since 2001? You don't get nervous anymore, maybe. But how do you prepare mentally for a big match like this?
No, man. I mean, I'm a firm believer of the day the butterflies go away is the day you should step away. I always have the butterflies, and that's a good thing. I mean, just mental preparation is just, just going out there, and it's funny, and I've been doing this for a long time, and you get in, Hammerstein Ballroom, and you're in front of that crowd, and the heart of New York City, and you got to almost calm yourself. You got to tell yourself, okay, it's still just wrestling. It's still just
Sure.
wrestling, But I'm going to be hyped, man. I'm going to be pumped up. No doubt about that. I think anytime I get a chance to be in the ring, but especially a Ring of Honor ring, and especially again, you're talking the Manhattan Center, you're talking the Hammerstein Ballroom, you're talking New York City, the heart of New York City. That's it doesn't get much better than that, and I'm excited, man. So yeah, anytime the mental preparation is just think about the task at hand and what you got to do, and also too, I always try to take a moment and soak it in and just kind of look around. It's something I've started to do the last year, and doing it with Ring of Honor, is just taking that second and absorbing it and looking around, because these are the things these are the things I want to take away when when my career is all said and done. These are the memories I want to keep with me forever. So I think it's important too to just stop and look around once in a while.
Well, I'll be watching tomorrow, so when you're in the ring, I just want you to think that Lewis Carlin from the Pro Wrestling Personified podcast is watching on his computer as a member of the Honor Club. So I'll be watching tomorrow, and excuse me, I don't know who Kenny King is going to have I'm predicting coast to coast, but whoever it is going to be a great match, and I'm really looking forward to it tomorrow.
Yeah, me too, man. I'm glad you're going to watch. I think that Honor Club, what a great thing they're doing with the streaming of all the live events.
Yep.
And discounted or for pay-per-views.
Yep.
And just it's fantastic. I think what they're doing is one step even further with the actual live streaming of all the live events. I mean, that's incredible. If you're a fan of Ring of Honor, you're going to be able to watch the television program, and you're never going to miss any of the house shows, no matter where you live in the country.
Yes, it's worth every penny, every penny, without a doubt. And last question. You've been around since 2001. Say a 16-year-old kid comes up to you and he wants advice on becoming a professional wrestler. What advice would you give somebody who wants to get into professional wrestling?
Yeah, I mean, I would say, get your education, because there's not a lot of money, especially in the beginning in pro wrestling. Get your education, have a job, have health insurance, and get yourself to a school that's reputable and a trainer that's reputable, and just be prepared to work as hard as you can. And that's it. That's really all it is, and the rest of it will take care of itself. If you get to a place that's reputable and a place that can teach you well, and you're open-minded and you work harder than anybody else, then the sky's the limit, especially in 2018 and the way pro wrestling and the independents have really exploded. It's an incredible time in pro wrestling. It's a really fun time to be in pro wrestling, and I'm glad to still be around.
Well, Brian, I just want to say thank you so much for joining me today. It was an absolute pleasure having you on. I'm looking forward to tomorrow's match, Manhattan Mayhem, as I mentioned numerous times, and I'm going to say it again because I'm really looking forward to that show. It's going to be a great show. Looking forward to your match, of course. But again, thank you so much for joining me today. Anytime you want to come back, you're always welcome to come back and talk about anything if you have something on your mind. Doors always open to you, my man.
All right, man. Thank you so much. I really appreciate it.
All right, so this has been the Pro Wrestling Personified podcast with my guest, Brian Milonas. I want to thank him again, and of course, we're part of the Tapped Out Wrestling Podcast Network. And until next time, thank you very much for listening. Take care, bye-bye, and stay safe, everybody. Bye-bye.